Kansas Wheat is the cooperative agreement between the Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Formed in 2004, it represents the most efficient means in which one staff can perform the functions of each organization: the Kansas Wheat Commission's marketing, promotion, research, and education functions, and the Kansas Association of Wheat Growers' lobbying, marketing, and publicity efforts. Each year, Kansas Wheat board members and staff embark upon a number of major projects designed to promote, market, and educate consumers and wheat buyers about the wholesome, healthy, and high-quality hard red, hard white, and spring wheat Kansas farmers produce. Fiscal year 2010 provided a number of opportunities to share Kansas Wheat's vision, and we'd like to share a few of them with you. In September 2008, Kansas Wheat staff and board members participated in the Urban Wheat Field, an up-close look at a lush green field of wheat, huge combine and milling, baking, and nutrition booths in New York City's financial district. The effort, which reached thousands of urbanites, was so successful, Kansas Wheat sought to duplicate the effort at the Kansas State Fair. Thus, a complete redesign of the Kansas Wheat booth was in order. The new and improved exhibit in the Pride of Kansas building sought to engage and educate the nearly 350,000 State Fair visitors about wheat production, milling, nutrition, and baking. The amazing productivity of Kansas wheat farmers was illustrated in several demonstrations of what one bushel creates, including 192 State Fair cinnamon rolls, 42 one-pound bags of flour, or 42 1.5-pound loaves of bread. Cindy Falk, Kansas Wheat's nutrition educator, describes the exhibit.
We're trying to educate consumers of all ages about the importance of wheat in Kansas and in their diet. So we're trying to explain about the growth cycle of the wheat plant from the grass, it looks like a grass in your front yard, through the different stages, and then you end up seeing the golden wheat. And from there, then we have this nice mural with the combine and the wheat field.
Numerous staff, board members, and Speak for Wheat volunteer spokespeople answered questions from the fairgoers, many of whom, despite growing up in the wheat state, have little knowledge of how a Kansas wheat farm works. Although a number of Kansas natives may not understand the importance of wheat in their daily lives, other areas of the world do not take wheat-based foods and products for granted. Each year, dozens of grain buyers, millers, and bakers from around the world come to Kansas to learn how the yield and quality attributes of the wheat crop will fit into their business models. In fiscal year 2010, 6 trade teams representing some of the world's major wheat importing countries visited the state. As guests of Washington, D.C.-based U.S. Wheat Associates, the trade teams usually attend sessions held by USDA agencies, the Kansas City Board of Trade, and wheat traders in Kansas City. But the visits are not complete until trade team members meet with Kansas wheat farmers. Tunde Udunayo, Chief Executive Officer of Honeywell Flour Mills, one of Nigeria's largest, says the U.S. supplies 90% of the wheat consumed in Nigeria. The country imported 3.5 million metric tons of wheat in 2010 and expects to import some 4 million metric tons in 2011. The U.S. is a major source of wheat to Nigeria for 2 reasons. U.S. farmers grow the highest quality wheat in the world, and through the grower-funded U.S. Wheat Associates, they market that wheat better than anyone.
First of all, the quality of the wheat produces just the kind of pan bread that the Nigerians want. But secondly, the United States has succeeded in competing very efficiently against Canadian wheat. Canadian wheat is also quite good for the Nigerian situation, for our needs. But what the United States has done is that they have put up a marketing program, at the forefront of which is U.S. Wheat Associates. And that sort of endears the United States wheat to Nigerians.
That U.S. wheat exports to Nigeria has become a huge success is due in large part to the investment of the nation's wheat producers. A portion of the Kansas 1.5 cent per bushel wheat checkoff goes to the U.S. Wheat Associates. Other checkoff recipients include the Kansas Wheat Commission's numerous research partners. In fiscal year 2010, more than $1 million was appropriated to a number of research projects, all of which are designed to improve wheat production, enhance wheat quality, or develop new uses and markets for our wheat. Alan Fritz, wheat breeder at Kansas State University's Manhattan campus, explains why farmer investments into wheat research are critical.
The Wheat Commission money is really the money that we use for most of our operating expenses. And it's a partnership that's really critical. Without it, we don't have the equipment we need. We don't have the locations that we need to be able to do things. And I really value that it comes from the producers, because I think it's a real partnership with the people who are growing our varieties, and that relationship is I think is as important as anything else. As important as the money is the relationship and kind of the communication back and forth. In order to be competitive over the next 5 or 10 years, particularly with the increased investment of private industry, it obviously takes some resources. And with the Wheat Commission and the Wheat Alliance, and potentially some collaboration between different state programs, I think we put ourselves in the position to be able to remain competitive and allow our producers to continue to have choices when it comes to the varieties that they're growing.
State and federal appropriations have not kept pace with the K-State wheat breeding program's needs. Funds from the Kansas Wheat Commission toward the breeding programs in Hays and Manhattan total some $250,000. Also in fiscal year 2010, the Kansas Wheat Commission leaders committed nearly $100,000 toward refurbishing the greenhouses in Hays. This investment is just one example of the Wheat Commission's goal of maintaining the high standard of excellence the K-State wheat breeding program is known for. Another highlight of fiscal year 2010 was an announcement by Monsanto that it would enter into a collaborative agreement with K-State. This agreement will bolster Monsanto's fledgling wheat breeding program by providing germplasm to the multinational bioscience firm. In turn, K-State's breeding program gains access to a host of technologies from Monsanto's technology platforms. The agreement, the first of what promises to be several public and private collaborations to come, ensures the future of the K-State public breeding program. Kansas wheat leaders and staff were deeply involved in the negotiations between Monsanto and K-State to make sure producer investments in the K-State program were protected. Finally, the evolution of Heartland Plant Innovations, a Kansas wheat initiative that will develop emerging technologies in wheat, sorghum, and native plants, continued with the hiring of Forrest Chumley as its president. HPI, which is funded in part by wheat producers through Kansas Wheat, the Kansas Bioscience Authority, and major public and private investors, has agreed to lease terms with K-State on land in Manhattan on which a new plant science center will be built. The facility will contain greenhouses, state-of-the-art laboratories, and a doubled haploid lab, all of which will speed development of profitable new crops for Kansas farmers. This building also will be home to the Kansas Wheat offices. Ground could be broken this fall on the $6 million, 15,000-square-foot complex. These are just a few of many accomplishments in 2010 by the Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. The farmer leaders and staff of Kansas Wheat work together each day on your behalf to be a leader in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat.